Hi, I'm Mark Keane from Sleeping Serpent, and I am a wizard, a mystic, and an alchemist living here in the southwest of England, very close, in fact, to where J.K. Rowling, who created the Harry Potter series, was brought up. Now, in my last video, I completed this video on the telepathy tapes, the revelations that I had that these children with apraxia who are labeled as autistic are in fact universally telepathic, which has completely blown my mind. And if you watch my video and if you have listened to the Telepathy Tapes podcast itself, then you will know all about the Hill. Now, the Hill, if you don't know, is a place in another dimension. Maybe it's the astral plane, where these children connect to each other. And what more, they actually go there to learn. They actually, some of them have roles as teachers, and they can learn other languages, they can learn history, they can even learn to decipher ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. And I've learnt that because I've got a background in Egyptology, and that's not easy. So it turns out that Hogwarts is actually real, because Hogwarts, if you think about it, is a place of learning which is in another dimension. You know, that you have to go to the platform of 9 3/4. I've been there, by the way. And, you know, hit that pillar at a certain angle, and then you'll come out into this other dimension where, you know, that you get on the steam train. And it's extraordinary that these children are actually learning in another dimension. Very real stuff, like learning other languages that they've never learned in school, their parents don't know. No one around them knows this stuff that they're learning. So this is what Hogwarts is. J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter in general got a mention in the Telepathy Tapes, because it turns out that J.K. Rowling was on a train, which was, I think, a little bit delayed. It took about 4 hours. And during that journey, she received the train of thought, if you will, of Harry Potter. It's almost like she channeled Harry Potter. She said Harry Potter just came to her. He was there, and the story simply just unfolded. It was presented to her, essentially, like Harry Potter came through and went, here's my story. So it wasn't something that she made up so much, not such a flight of fancy, but something that she was tapping into, channeling, if you will. And it's really the same for any great work. Lord of the Rings, I would suggest, is a lot of that information is probably channeled by Tolkien. Let's not forget that Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings are in that fantasy realm, what is labeled as fantasy. But what I have always said is that what is being labeled as fantasy is actually the reality. You know, we come from a spiritual world that is more real than this one. More real, has more density, has more colors, has more sounds. It's much, much, much more vivid than this one. This is the dream. Everyone that has died and come back, had a near-death experience, says the same thing. This is the dream. So it feels like these children are able to sort of tap in either to that other world or to the realm in between, to the astral, right? So it's absolutely extraordinary. But to think that J.K. Rowling actually was tapping into this other realm. Harry Potter also comes in to these podcasts because one of the children was actually able to have all of the information of all of the Harry Potter books just because his sister had read the books. So that's another thing which is extraordinary. So he's learning essentially through a version of telepathy. It's like plugging into her mind, because it turns out that memory is not in the brain, right? Memory is just out there in the ether, okay? And the work of Rupert Sheldrake proves this, essentially. He's done a lot of work on telepathy, on animal telepathy, and the sense of fields, morphogenic fields that we all plug into. And this is extraordinary work. And this amazing professor. So he comes up a lot in the podcast as well. So this comes up time and time again, this idea of being able to go to another dimension and learn something. Essentially, this is the Akashic records you probably have heard of, where everything that happens on Earth is actually recorded like a cloud. But some people go there almost like physically. So Darius J. Wright, who I really respect as probably the most advanced out-of-body experiencer in the world today that I have come across, Darius J. Wright says that he actually goes to the Akashic records like it's an actual place. It's a huge library. You can go in there and you can choose what you want to review, whether that's in the past or probably the future, in your life, or some other period of history that you're interested in. He said there are people in there and they'll just like watching periods of history. So it's an actual place. Some people are able to just channel from the Akashic records, like receive information, receive impressions. So it's down to your own way of getting access to this information or your ability to go out of body. But Darius is interesting because he says, I'm not astral traveling. I'm going out of my body in the same way that the soul leaves the body at the point of death. And he says that an out-of-body experience done fully, 100%, is a controlled near-death experience, as opposed to an astral traveler might go out about 50%. So they're maintaining about 50% of consciousness here in the physical dimension and 50% out. Whereas a lucid dreamer might be more like you're going, well, literally like you're having a dream. You're having a conscious dream that you're able to access information, but it's only about 10-15% of your consciousness is actually going out. So that's why it's going to appear very dreamlike. So there are different degrees of how much we can actually allow our consciousness to travel beyond the confines of the third dimension. But it does feel that these children are able to do this to a large degree because they're having trouble physically being here at all. So their attention is, 85, 95, sometimes a lot of the time 100% out there in that other world, to the point that one of these children said he didn't even know that he had a physical body. He had to be trained to learn that he had a physical body. So he was 100% out in that world. And that's what makes these children so absolutely extraordinary. But, think about it. In our myth, in our legend, we have these memories of castles which are in another dimension. My favorite one is Jack and the Beanstalk. He climbs up that beanstalk, which is very much like activating that kundalini up through the spine and climbing up that world tree that connects the worlds in all ancient world mythology. And he gets to that castle, like that castle in the sky, that castle in the clouds, right? Where these other beings live, the giants in this case. In the shamanic dragon yoga that I distilled from the ancient bard Taliesin, the Prethi Anun talks about this other world of Anun that King Arthur Pendragon goes into and discovers these 7 distinct castles, these otherworldly castles, where he goes to recover the cauldron of Cerridwen, which later becomes retold as the quest of the knights of King Arthur for the Holy Grail. So it's in our mythology. When I began my journey after my spiritual awakening in 2003, I was living in London, and I had the fortune of being able to receive the wisdom from a very eminent Kabbalist named Zev Ben Shimon Halevi. And he said, if you can't readily come to these sessions where you live, because people come from all over the country to hear the wisdom of this renowned Kabbalist, he said, then you can go to these invisible colleges in the astral. And I remember thinking then, wow, that sounds a bit far-fetched. Even though my spiritual awakening was all about connecting to the Great Pyramid of Egypt and how the pharaoh would go into the pyramid and activate his car light body and travel to different stars, I guess I didn't feel then that I was quite ready for that, But now, subsequently, I have created my course on ancient Egyptian serpent shamanism. I've activated my kundalini. I've impressed the Merkaba upon my energy field as well as activated the Taurus, and now it's becoming more and more real every single day. So if you have any personal experience of anything like this, that you've channeled some information from the Akashic records, or you've glimpsed some otherworldly castle, I'd love to hear from you. Even if you're just a great fan of Harry Potter, that it's always resonated with you and this somehow confirms, please do leave your comments in the section below. But if you're interested in finding out more about how to become your own wizard or witch, like I've always felt that I was a wizard, I've created a course on how to be your own wizard or witch. So please do check that out. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. It turns out that this idea of a castle being in another dimension where you can actually go and learn stuff outside of the realm of the physical here down in the third dimension on Earth is real. It turns out that it may be that even Harry Potter himself is actually real. A lot of these stories that are in Harry Potter, of course, are very archetypal. They follow the hero's journey. They follow the process of the operations of alchemy. It's very similar to Lord of the Rings. This is why Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter are the most read books in the English language after the Bible, but they don't stop there, especially now with the films and the fact that these books and films have been translated in so many languages. It's just taken the whole world by storm. It's time to bring the fantasy into reality. It's time to realize that we are multidimensional. We don't just live in this dimension, we are also in another world. And when we die, it's not the end. It's only the beginning, where we return home to the realm of eternal love, where our soul is already. This is the truth. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in another video very, very soon.